So in this video, I wanted to take a quick look at the Pentel Energel Hexreform. And this is, as I understand, a limited edition pen sold only in Taiwan right now. I imported it. It wasn't that easy to find, but I was able to track it down, and it's a pretty cool pen. I'm not sure if it's necessarily always going to be limited edition or if it will be sold in other regions, but as I understand it, it's pretty limited right now, and I haven't seen too many of them floating around. So just to get the basics, it is part of the Energel line. As I said, it's called the Hexreform, one word. It is a hexagonal pen, as you could probably tell. It has rounded corners, it's not sharp corners. It is capped. Most of the Energel line is not capped. It's retractable, and it uses a standard Energel needle tip refill, which we'll get into in a minute, which the refill is a little bit tricky. All metal body, metal clip, pretty sparse styling, but all the end hardware is metal, which is very nice. Cap is all metal. Very limited on the extras here. We do see a logo there. It says Pentel. The actual name of the pen doesn't appear anywhere. The size, this is, I believe, at 0.7 millimeter. We'll confirm that in a minute. Might be 0.5. Doesn't say it anywhere. So it's a very sparse pen. It does post, which is very nice. I would say this is a very good-looking pen in my eyes. Very clean, very cool. Has that sort of Rotring type feel to it, which it is metal and hexagonal. It is smaller than you probably would expect. If we look at these markings, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, a little bit over, about 5.5 inches capped, and uncapped it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 4.5, so pretty small. Looking at next to something like this Energel alloy, also from Pentel, you could see there's a huge difference between the two. The Energel alloy is a large-ish pen, so maybe it's not an ideal comparison, but the Hexreform is absolutely dwarfed by that pen. Not just in length, but also more so in diameter. That's the bigger difference, at least from a percentage standpoint. If we were to cap the Hexreform, you can see now they're almost identical in length, but this is still a much narrower pen. Just to rewind for a second, the packaging is very sparse, even though it's a limited edition pen. You get a box, but it doesn't say anything on the box. It's literally just a sleeve. And then in here we get just a little case, but there's no spare refill, no instructions, nothing like that. Just this little clip band, and this just has some model information. So if you do want to track this pen down, you're not going to get very far by Googling the name, but you do want to Google that model number right there, BLN 665. And then the rest of the stuff will vary, but that's the important stuff. So here's the Hexreform, here's an Energel alloy, and just like here's a Zebra Sarasa Grand, which is actually a really good comparison because this is sort of a metal upgrade pen from the standard Sarasa, like this one, whereas the Hexreform is sort of like a metal upgrade pen from a standard Energel, like this one. That's the RTX. Spilled some tea. And it's even an upgrade from the Energel alloy, which is an upgrade from the RTX. So opening the pen up, we can see it's pretty simple. We have cap. This piece does not come off. This piece does come off. It's all metal, really nicely done. Just really nicely worked. And then inside there's no spring, which is means it's a really perfect fit for this refill, but it does limit your versatility there. And this includes the Pentel. This is the LRN 5. So that's the LRN series refill. This is sold, I believe the LRN is the permanent ink, and it's also sold as the LR, which is the non-permanent ink. So if you see the model numbers vary on your Hexreform pen, it's gonna be because some of them are different colors. Obviously, it's like red, blue, green, and black maybe, but also because some are sold in a permanent ink, some are not sold in a permanent ink. So keep that in mind. When I said the refill situation was interesting before, it's because this piece right here has a stepping inside and it's very narrow. Also, this body is basically exactly the size it needs to be to fit this LR or LRN refill. So there's extremely little room for variance in other refill types. Like check out this fit. It'll be hard to tell, but look at the stepping in the middle there and look at the stepping here, and it's exact fit. Here it is again. Look, it lines up perfectly and there's almost no wiggle here despite there being no spring. There's just a fraction. Can you see that wiggle? Almost nothing. So it's a really close fit. So this is essentially a Rollerball G2 standard refill with some slight modifications here. So the first thing I did with this was see what other refills I could use in this. So here's a Pelican or Pelican 338. This is a nice refill. Pretty expensive, but I really like these. And this uses a more standard G2 shape. And you can see there is some difference between the two, despite them being kind of standard rollerball refills. This one, it does fit in there, which is great to see. So now we have confirmation that you could put other rollerball refills in here. You know, the fit isn't quite as perfect, but there's no wobble, it writes nicely. But then when you try something like a Schmidt refill, this is the 8127, also rollerball refill. This is a wider refill. You can see it fits the body, wow, fits almost perfectly, but it is too wide for the cap piece, or not the cap, the nose piece. So it does not fit. So even though this is, you know, theoretically a rollerball refill, it does not fit in the Hexreform just because the tolerances and the contours of this front piece are too close. I've done some experimenting and basically it's a toss-up. A lot of refills will work. Energels will work, obviously. Pelican and other standard ones will work. But when you move to, say, a Pilot, like this friction, these are almost always interchangeable. The Pilot G2 almost always interchangeable with Pentel, but because of the shapes here, not all Pilots will work. So here you can see that hits there. So you cannot put a Pilot G2 or Pilot friction refill in the Hexreform. So that's definitely, I would say, a disadvantage for this pen. If I want to try something like a Zebra Sarasa dry, then that I believe should be fine. Yeah, so that one is good to go. So basically this will fit refills from Zebra, from most European manufacturers, and from Pentel, but not Pilot. You can't fit a Lamy or other of those, it won't fit either. But so you could fit some, but not all of the refills that you might want to use in this pen. Just interesting fact, I guess. Not really a huge deal, but not perfectly interchangeable because there's no spring and the sizing is so tight. So the pen has a retail price of 600 Taiwanese dollars, which is about $20 US. But I haven't been able to see these after shipping and all. You're probably gonna end up paying about $30 for one of these, which is definitely on the high side. It's a nice pen, and I don't believe you'll see too many of them in the US anytime soon, but it's gonna cost you at least $30, $35, and you have to wait for shipping. You might be able to find it on Rakuten or Amazon Japan, in which case I would say I'm going back and forth. It's a nice pen. I like it. It's definitely unique. I don't know that's worth $35. The Pentels are nice writers. I really like the Energel inks. I usually get them in larger sizes. This is the 0.5 millimeter in the LRN, and I believe that is the permanent ink. But anyway, I really do like Pentel Energel inks. So being able to put whatever I want in here, including the 1.0 millimeter, is a nice fit. I think it looks extra cool with the needle tip, but that does limit your options to the 0.5 and 0.7 millimeter versions. As for other pens, if you're looking for something like this, I did note the Zebra Sarasa Grand is a nice fit. They're kind of hard to find in this silver finish, but the Sarasa Grand is easy enough to find on its own. Another nice fit, obviously the Energel Alloy. This is one of my top picks, and this one will cost you maybe $6 or $7. It's not capped, neither is capped, I guess, but something interesting to keep in mind. Lamy Tipo, another nice option. These aren't all metal, but it is a very cool pen in this price range. And there's not a huge amount in capped pens that are coming to mind in this Hexreform in the $20 to $30 price range. You know, most people in this price range would steer you towards like a Lamy Safari if you want a rollerball or something like that. So I think the Hexreform is an interesting option. It kind of fills a niche, but it is on the small side and it's kind of just a pain to find. I did mention the Rotring 600 before, so I did want to throw out a comparison between those two. You can see the Rotring is a good deal larger and I would say cooler looking than the Hexreform. I wouldn't necessarily say the two are that related to one another. You know, obviously they're both roller balls and they're both hexagonal, but Pentel did not take very many design cues from the Rotring. And the Rotring has, you know, really sharp corners, not sharp like cut your hand sharp, but sharper corners. Pentel's rounded. Rotring uses all squared edges, not quite 90 degrees. They are slightly tapered or chamfered on the ends, whereas Pentel went round. If we open it up, you can see knurling and then a nice angled end here. No knurling, no grip section. So I would say the two are actually quite different, but you know, when you see a hexagonal rollerball with a cap, it's hard not to think of the Rotring 600, despite the fact that these are two very different pens. So that about covers the Pentel Hexreform. I know this one's a little bit hard to find, but I thought it'd be interesting for everyone to take a look at it. This might not be something you've seen before. So that's about it. Thanks for watching.